The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com. And I know that one of your highlights of last year would have been this here. Meeting him backstage. I know that you were performing on the day. I think in a tag match alongside Session Moth, but he was there. Now, I think he had a match, and it was Wolverhampton, wasn't it? OTT, their 9th anniversary show against Trent Seven. But I know that he is legit one of your heroes, one of your childhood heroes, one of your wrestling heroes. What did it mean to you to meet up with him, catch up with him, have your photo with him, and maybe spend a bit of time with him? Tell us about it.
It was always my goal when I got in wrestling. I went to a live event with my dad and I made a big Dean Unstable Ambrose sign and on
that one there.
There you go. Yes, I made a big sign and I was on the ramp and he came out first and he came and high-fived me and I was like screaming, so excited. And then after his match, he took off his shirt and gave it to me. And even now it makes me tear up because I think that was the happiest point in my life. It's been downhill from that point on. But that was the happiest moment. It was my dream had come true. And I thought if I could ever get to the level to be able to thank him for giving me that shirt, then I'll be happy. So that has always been my goal. And obviously to be able to do that, when I saw him, I said, right, I've got to play it cool, just calm. And I walked up to him and I was like, I'm really sorry, I just love you, I'm a massive fan and all this. And he was kind of just sat there he was like, whoa, you're making me feel old. And I wish I'd have took it a bit slower because I was very excited. But he was lovely. I walked away and I said, I should have got a photo really. And then after I wrestled, he was walking down and I said, I'm really sorry, can I just get a photo with you? And I pulled up my phone and that stupid photo of me when I was 13 was on the screen. And I was like, oh God. And he went, oh. And I was like, all my school friends will think I've made it when they see I've had a photo with you because I used to always go on about you. And then had the photo and then he tapped me on the back and went, well, I guess you've made it now. And I was like,
there we go.
He was lovely.
What a cool interaction. What a cool story. And what was it about Dean Ambrose back in the day that kind of gravitated towards you? And like I said, this kind of rough, unkempt look, didn't he? And the vest that he would wear down to the ring. But he didn't bleed so often in WWE. That's one thing for sure. But what was it about Dean Ambrose or maybe Moxley nowadays that kind of really kind of fascinates you?
I think I really used to, before I even knew indie wrestling was a thing, I don't know how to this day I came across him, but Sami Callihan and John Moxley, they used to tag together and I saw him then. And then when he debuted, I think on WWE, I don't know if he'd done anything before, but to my knowledge, the Shield came and attacked CM Punk, and CM Punk was also one of my favourites. And I absolutely hated them. I thought, who are these vile people attacking my favourite person? And then as I got to know them, I was like, actually, I do really like the Shield. And then it was just, I think because Dean Ambrose was always a bit more quiet. And I'm not I'm not a big talker. In real life, I am, but I just get straight to the point. I think, why am I going to tell you what I can do, show you? And I feel like that was kind of similar with him. So I guess I just connected to him, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, what a fun story. But
I was like, I wonder how many people from British Wrestling are here, or regulars from British Wrestling, I should say. And I think I counted 16 names. And if you think about the plethora of talent we have here and what so many of them done, not just in the UK, all over the world, the fact that I have made that list is literally, unless something insane happens in the next year, it's my high point. I said that to Matt Cardona. After I was with him, I was like, well, it's all downhill from here unless I make the PWI 500. And I did. So it's been ridiculous. Being memes has always been, my number one thing. And but just creating this, adapting this stupid character and giving him his own personality traits and all these kind of things. And for it to end up where it has is genuinely one of the best, like, it's literally a highlight of my life. Like, it can't get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you as you said there, there's literally hundreds of wrestlers across the UK, thousands around the world. So to be inside the top 500, considering that, is a fantastic feat. But do you know one person that wasn't in the top 500 this year, Memes? Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns wasn't even in the top 500.
They brought this up, the PWI, and I was like, well, that must mean I'm officially better than Roman Reigns then. So I'm better than Roman Reigns. Charles Crowley didn't make it this year, I'm just saying. So I'm better than Charles Crowley and Roman Reigns. And yeah, there's a few. I mean, obviously Roman Reigns was effectively a technicality because he hadn't wrestled enough matches, but I'm better than
It's
Roman
all
Reigns.
by the by.
But this is the first people to chat with me about this, because also this has been the thing when I've been Blue Pain until I took the mask off anyway. I have had genuinely hundreds and hundreds of requests to be on podcasts and to be interviewed, to do these things, and every time I've had to say, sorry, no, I've got frozen voice box, because the second I start talking like this, I might give away the game. So I'm finally able to talk about these things and stuff like that, and the first thing to talk about me on this list was randomly Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler. And he, if you remember, was also once number 500 on the PWI 500. So, I'm not saying I need to fight Nick Nemeth, but 500 versus 500 has a good thing to it.
Hey, Joey Janela, if you're listening, next year's spring break, make it happen. I mean, your feud with Spike dates back to, like I say, last year, almost immediately after Super Strong Style. And when you won Super Strong Style last year, I think you were already, in the fans' eyes, the uncrowned men's world champion in Progress, certainly in their eyes. And like I say, you had the full fan support. But like I say, your feud, your rivalry, your story with Spike, like I say, it's going to be one of them storylines that will go down in Progress history, and probably one of your favourite feuds of recent memory.
Yeah, I appreciate Richie's comment about the turning from bad to good, because I think the most rewarding stories are the ones that keep the audience engaged but reward the audience for watching for a long time. And I liked that there was podcasts coming out before even the first Spike title match, where they were recounting like little things that were like little details of the narrative that dated back to pre-Strong Style, and from the match with Brooks to the eventual turn with the match with Sunshine Machine and such. So I really love that people like that part of it, as well as the actual Spike section of said story. The Spike story was obviously brutal, but I think it was I think a lot of wrestling fans, although they liked me, saw me in a certain light or at a certain ceiling. I've always been a tag team guy because I love tag team wrestling. I think it's the most beautiful style of professional wrestling, because you have so many moving parts and so many narratives you can tell with 4 people or 6 people. And I think you have to be really smart and talented to be a special degree of tag team wrestler, like the people I look up to and aspire to be like. However, this was a chance to show that I can do the things that make a special main eventer as a singles competitor, which I think a lot of people weren't expecting. And then I think the proof's in the pudding. I've had a few people contact me and say that they felt that they wanted to admit to me, despite me never not knowing their opinion necessarily. They wanted to admit to me that they were wrong, or I've seen someone published a really lovely article where they literally outwardly put into paragraphs what they thought, why they now think they're wrong, and what they believe now. And I think being able to turn the tide of, or turn the opinion of people through just my work, I think is a really nice thing to take away from this angle with Spike, this storyline, because I put everything into that. I wanted to show that I could be the top guy, because I don't want to be too this way or that way about things, but when wrestling was coming back in England, I wanted to make sure I was part of the 11 players who took the ball at their feet and dribbled it out of our own goal and took it to someone else's. And I think I was a key player of that. And this is like the culmination of that sort of thing.
I've definitely grown. And yeah, I've been able to face some incredible opponents. Like for me, the big one this year for me was Nina Samuels. She was actually the wrestler that I saw. So I went to my first ever wrestling show, and I think it was 2017, and she was on that. And it was the first wrestler that I saw where I was like, oh my God, this is like, it clicked for me, what wrestling was about. And I bought her a t-shirt. She was the first wrestler that I ever bought any merch of. So having the opportunity to face her this year, obviously I had the singles match. I've faced her in some, triple threat and 4-way and stuff as well. But that was really quite special for me.
Is that the match at Riot Cabaret?
It was, yeah. That was my debut at Riot Cabaret. So yeah, that was particularly special. I mean, that was incredible as well. That crowd is another one that is completely unreal. That room, the energy in it is like nothing else. Like I can't even sort of explain it. You come out and it just fills you like with fire. So that was an incredible opportunity.
Well, let me ask you about Nina then, because I mean, getting the opportunity, and I know you've worked her in some triple threat matches, but getting that opportunity, and it would have been your debut for Riot Cabaret in the Clapham Grand with the fantastic crowd there, as you just mentioned, and I think it was for Nina's Women's Championship as well. Is that right?
Yeah, it was.
So it's kind of so many things happening all at once. What a debut! I bet when you got the message or the email from the promoter, you must have thought it was some kind of rib. But it's like, really, Nina Samuels, Riot Cabaret, the championship's on the line. It's my debut.
It wasn't
unbelievable
a match, Jonas. It happened on the night. I was actually part of the ring crew at Riot.
No way.
I still support, and basically the promoters had sort of said thank you, that I'd sort of spotted something earlier in the day and it had been resolved, and they called it out, and Nina wasn't very happy that I was getting acclaimed, and she came out and started trying to pick on me with Cassius, and the promoters were like, you know what, let's have a wrestle. So I got to wrestle her later that day.
No wonder I couldn't find a match graphic. Yeah, but no, that all makes perfect sense now. It all makes perfect sense. But I mean, sticking with Nina, when you get the opportunity to step in the ring with somebody like that, with all of her experience and knowledge, and a terrific physique, but what she knows mentally about professional wrestling and what she's capable of doing. I'm not saying she's underrated by any stretch of the imagination. I think the amount of championships she's held over the last year or 2 years would kind of say that she's definitely not underrated. But I don't think people really appreciate how good she is in the ring. She's the consummate professional in all aspects. What was it like to be in there with her? Was it a little bit daunting, or was it exciting for you? And you must have taken loads away from that match as well.
I think all of the above. Like. Yeah. The way that she processes things, everything that she does within the ring is so well executed. Like there's not a lot you can say, in some ways. But yeah, it was, like I said, obviously it was daunting because it was an important match to me, and on a different level, as well as getting to face someone with that level of experience. And I actually would say that she is in some ways underrated in the UK. Like I know that she's had a lot of championships this year, so I think for her it was almost going out to prove a point as well, because sometimes there's these conversations about the best wrestlers in the UK and her name's not mentioned, and I'm like, she's not just one of the best women's wrestlers in the UK, she's one of the best wrestlers in the UK. People love to hate her, of course. But she's a fantastic heel. And yeah, I took a lot away from that match, and I'm super grateful to her as well.
The other match, and I think it's probably maybe 2 to 3 weeks after your match with Leo Rush, and it was the Lucha Rules match, once again with Progress up in Manchester this time, and it was the 4 CPF boys against 4 members of the 0121, and as much of a banger it was with yourself and Leo, this 8-man Lucha Rules match man, it blew the roof off the O2 in Manchester. And like I say, it set a lot of tongues wagging after the match. It sent social media ablaze with how good it was. I think it possibly even found its way onto the Progress YouTube channel before it went live on demand. But that match must be another very, very special match for you, and another way to kind of, or another match to kind of continue that momentum as 2023 progressed.
Yeah, it's mad that you say it was that quick after, because I forgot.
Yeah.
It was literally like a couple of weeks after.
It
I was on a roll. But no, yeah, like all those guys in that match, like we all just gel so well together. Like we're all like quite good friends outside the ring as well. And yeah, just we all asked for that match because we knew like what we could do. And when it finally got booked, we was just like, yeah, easy match of the night. We got this. Like, not like, yeah. I was just talking about being humble a second ago, but like, you know what? Like, let me blow my own trumpet because like,
hey, this is all about putting you over, Danny. Carry on.
yeah, like you take CPF and like all of us and our abilities 0-1-2-1. If you look at that team, like, especially like looking back at that match now, look where like half of the members from that match are now. Like Leon's with TNA, Dan and Callum are in New Japan. Like it's only a matter of time before like some of the rest of us are in these big companies. So like, yeah, looking back on it, that was a really fun match, and like we knew what we could bring. We planned it and we executed it. I think perfectly, like to what we had in our head. We was all super happy with the match after. And yeah, it was obviously great that the crowd felt the same way. So yeah.
Well, this is it, and it got a standing ovation. And I was going to say exactly the same to you. It was one of those matches that just seemed to go perfect from bell to bell, and you don't get many matches like that. And you know that I think that's possibly one of the best 8-man tags I've ever seen, one of the best Lucha Rules matches I've ever seen, and certainly up there with one of the best matches in progress for 2023. And yeah, another. And 2023's been was a fabulous year, but it's already been a wonderful 2024 because if we think back to a few weeks ago, Pro Wrestling Eve, and when I introduced you, I was a little bit confused about how to introduce you, and I kind of nearly stumbled over my words a little bit. And of course, I introduced you as Nightshade, but I could have introduced you as Lampshade because as many of our viewers may know, you won the Pro Wrestling Eve Multiverse Rumble. I think it was early January, maybe the 4th or the 5th. Under your alter ego. Now, Multiverse Rumbles are always great fun. You never know quite what you're going to get, but I never quite expected to see Nightshade as Lampshade. Tell us about it.
So I'm actually wearing my Lampshade t-shirt today.
Classic.
So I thought almost every single interview I wear my Nightshade, but I thought, do you know what, as it's so soon since the multiverse, I thought I would actually wear the Lampshade t-shirt and be seen in it. So for years now, people have chanted at me Lampshade instead of chanting Nightshade, to have a little dig at me. You know, as a villain, you expect some sort of funny chants, but Lampshade is never one of them that I could have imagined. So I decided to bring Lampshade to life finally, once and for all, and there's no better place to do it than in the Pro Wrestling Eve Multiverse Rumble. And somehow she made it all the way through to the end, entered third, went through to the end and won it, even though I couldn't see under my lampshade.
Well, this is it. And I'm going to bring up the picture again. And I've seen clips of that match. I've seen clips of you in the Rumble. I'm amazed you were even able to get into the ring, let alone win the whole thing. How awkward was it to kind of have that thing on your head? And of course, it's illuminated as well. So you're probably blinded as well as not having great vision anyway. What was it like to perform in?
I literally could not see a thing. Like, truly could not see anything. So I think the fans that were there at the time, as the seats were quite low in comparison to the ring, I think they could see a lot more of me than I could see in general. So I think they were probably under the assumption that I could see a lot more than I could. But no, I literally could hardly see anything. But thankfully, Lampshade is an inanimate object. So, you know, I only really came to life here and there. and everyone ended up leaving me alone and not attempting to eliminate me.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it started off your 2024, in great fashion. Of course, here's a little picture of some of the characters there. I think we had Mario, Luigi, The Mask, and one or two others. And of course, Lance, you mentioned your T-shirt, and of course, I'm going to talk about your merch a bit later. But it is available currently on your Big Cartel. I'll just bring up the little ticker now, because you can go to Nightshade's Big Cartel, and we'll give it a full plug later on. I'm just waiting for it to kind of scroll along there. But do you know your Big Cartel off the top of your head, Nightshade?
I do. I believe it's nightshadewrestler.bigcartel.com.
There we go. But so we'll talk more about your merch later. But that very T-shirt the Nightshade is wearing is available on her Big Cartel already.
It is. And I do have a lantern on my head, just like in the multiverse.
But you don't plan on kind of expanding that gimmick into other promotions, do you? Or is it just a one-off? Or maybe we'll see it in next year's Multiverse Rumble. Any plans to kind of bring it back, maybe?
Honestly, I
maybe
think
with some
we'll
peepholes.
Have to see where Lampshade goes. You know, she's got an undefeated streak currently, so.
It's better times. You were part of Takeover Blackpool 1, and you're also part of Takeover Blackpool 2, and a phenomenal match, a real standout match against Trent Seven. And I think one of the more scary, but definitely exciting moments was when you gave him your razor's edge over the top rope, and that poor guy on the outside, Eddie. Well, I think he's still kind of laying on the floor now recovering, but he took the full brunt of Trent going flying over the top rope there. Poor guy. I hope he got a raise, an extra 50 quid in his pay packet for that. But I mean, a great match, a fantastic opponent. Back in the Emperor's Ballroom, I was there. A very memorable day and a very, very memorable match as well.
Yeah, it was a wicked moment. Trent's an absolute lunatic for taking that powerbomb.
Whose idea was that? Did he agree to that? My God, what a man!
He's a maniac. Yeah, it was a cool weekend, cool moment. That's one of those ones where you have a little bit less time. You're in the opener. I think sometimes the best thing you can do is let's just create a moment. Let's just have something that's yes, at the end of the show there is, Tyler's wrestling Jordan Devlin on the show. We're probably not going to have the best match tonight with the best will in the world. Do you know what I mean? But we could probably have a moment. We could probably have a moment that that everyone remembers, and I think we definitely managed to accomplish that. We had a moment that everyone sort of remembers him flying over the top rope to the railings below. It's right up there with it's a pretty gnarly bump. It's a pretty ridiculous idea. So yeah, I like it. I like that it's in a I don't know, I was sort of randomly probably vanity searching my name on the WWE network or something, and it's in one of those little 10 moves of the month or something like that, across main roster and NXT rosters and stuff. It's the number one moment of some month in some year. So that's pretty cool that it sort of exists outside the lore of NXT UK.
Yeah, and I know that kind of the world went to shit shortly after that, and obviously the next time we saw you guys was in the BT Sports studio with no fans, and then we did get fans back. But I think those NXT UK takeover shows, in my opinion, were some of the best wrestling that was happening anywhere in the world. The roster was stacked, the matches you put on and the stories you told on NXT UK in general, but then you add in the takeovers, and there was something really special about those three shows. Yeah,
I agree. It's a really special time in our lives for everyone who was involved in it. What's kind of cool about it is the vast majority of people who were involved in it were involved in British wrestling for the decade building up to that moment. So we'd all kind of been in the same locker rooms as one another for a decade prior, just in way, way, way smaller halls. So to look around the locker room in those takeovers and see people who you'd maybe wrestled in a fair in front of 12 people, or you know what I mean, maybe wrestled on a show where neither of you got paid, or maybe wrestled on a show where you got changed in the back of a van. was pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. Where were the emotions? Where was your head at, knowing that this was possibly the biggest match of your career in front of your home country, your countrymen, your friends, your family, and possibly the biggest opportunity you've had to that date?
I was a mess, John. I was ain't gonna lie, totally mess. I've probably been more open with this over the last couple of years, but some people seem to still not know about this. But I deal with a lot of performance anxiety really, really badly, to the point where most shows, if I'm totally honest, I will be backstage probably throwing up. Even to this day, I can't explain it. I don't know what causes it. It doesn't matter how big the show is, doesn't matter how small the show is. My body now seems to react this way, and I'm an absolute mess. But of course, this wasn't just any show. This was the biggest opportunity of my life, let alone career. So I was a mess. But skipping back a few weeks, it wasn't just the fact that this was the biggest opportunity of my career and Mark's career. And we were in our hometown, sold out in Cardiff. But I want to say 10 to 12 weeks prior to this, I had a match in Cathays, and it was for the Attack Pro Wrestling Championship, I do believe. And I dislocated my shoulder for the second time. Shoulder came out, and I think I went and got it x-rayed, and I went and got it MRI'd, and they were like, "You've tore whatever that surgeon done the first time. You've tore it up. You've destroyed it. You've tore your labrum again." And the question then was, okay, you might have to have surgery. You might have to have a bigger surgery this time. And I was kind of like, okay. And then they announced Takeover Cardiff, and I was like, right, can I rehab this? And if I can rehab this, is there a chance for me and Mark Andrews to be on this show? So there was two questions to that. So the question was, I could rehab it. There was no guarantee that it would stay in, but I could rehab it. And I think and I think they said to us that it would take 12 to 16 weeks to rehab. And I think that Takeover was 16 weeks. And I think that for us to qualify, we had to beat one of us had to beat one of the members of Gallus, and one of us had to meet one of the members of GYV.
That's right.
And those matches landed exactly 10 weeks after the dislocation. So 12 to 16 weeks, and I go back in 10. Now, whether that's due to hard work or whether that's due to stupidity, we will never truly know, Jonas. But the Takeover itself was so nerve-wracking, because I'd had one match since that dislocation, and there was no guarantee that this shoulder was going to stay in. Now, of course, that shoulder could have came out 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, and you could be sat here talking to me, Jones, about how I almost became the first Welsh champion in WWE history. So going through that curtain or getting ready for that, absolute mess. I remember Triple H, Shawn Michaels, William Regal, all there on the left. Music starts to play. I'm being sick into a bin while they look at me going, what the hell is going on? Wipe my mouth, whatever. Somebody asks me, am I right? I go, yep. And we just walk through the curtain. And the rest, as you know, is history. We have one of the best.
What a match.
One of the best matches of that weekend. One of the best tag team matches of that brand's history. Some people say it's the most memorable moment of their career as fans. Definitely one of the most memorable moments of myself as a wrestler. And it's just one of those full circle apps. There's so many things from that event, John. Is like we became the first Welsh champions in WWE history. I did it with a man that I met on my first day at training. So again, I did that with my best friends, Eddie Dennis, Wildball Mike Hitchman, backstage watching. We also did it in front of our hometown, our home countrymen, in front of Mark's family, in front of my family and my future wife. And then on top of that, then, the man who made me believe I could become a professional wrestler, Adrian Street, was also in the building from the same town as me. If I was to create this scene for a movie, you would tell me that it's too much. Like this can't be real. And all those things lined up absolutely perfect. And what a full circle moment.
Oh, mate. And I watched the match back today in preparation for this. It lives up every single second of it. The match, the offense, the action. Obviously, the nerves went as soon as you got into the ring because it definitely didn't show, my friends. But I mean, thinking back to the match, I don't think it could have gone any better. It was super smooth. The sequences, the offense, like I say, the action involving yourself and Mark and that finishing sequence was just, it was dreamlike. It was dreamlike. You couldn't have planned it any better. Thinking back on it now, have you had a better match?
I don't know. For everything else, ticking all those boxes, reactions, as you said, the moment I walk out, the crowd's electric. We get in there, and it's the best atmosphere I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking to myself, "Bloody hell, this is incredible!" And I think there's a moment early doors. Can't remember what it is, but there's a moment early doors where we hit something. And I think there's a big old kick out. Maybe it's a swanton early doors, and there's a big kick out. And I remember just looking at hearing that reaction off the crowd and how into it they were and how invested they were in us and our atmosphere. And I remember just looking at Mark and thinking, "We've got this. We've got it." And that was maybe 5 minutes in, and that atmosphere didn't give up in it, and it just kept going and kept going and kept going. And I don't know. It's a difficult one. I've got ones that live in my memory, and definitely ones that I'd put up in, if you had to say to me, list your top 10 favorite matches of all time. I've got ones that are maybe swap and change and are close, but I don't know if anything ever will top it. Johns, I don't know. Again, as I said, my goal was to appear in a Peter Regime music video once. That was my all-time goal. Never thought I guess Simon would do really, let alone be able to say that was the first person from Wales to hold a championship with one of my best mates. There's the picture. Yeah, look at that. That's mental, isn't it? I don't think it'll ever we're in history now. We can't ever be taken away from us. So yeah.
There you go. It will be history forever. And I'm going to bring up this screen grab here. The exact moment when they told you that in fact you weren't in a show called The Favourite, you were in fact in a show called Josh Must Win, and it was all about you. Add a bit of context to that reaction, because it looked like you almost couldn't believe what was going on. All very surreal. Fill us in.
Yeah, so we knew that we needed to be there. Even if you got eliminated from the show, you needed to be there until the end of filming. They give you a set date. So we just got it into our mind that everyone's going to come back at the end. There's going to be like a big meetup, maybe like a little banner or something for the winner. It was just going to be like a nice little meetup. And when you go through that door, there were like 4 industrial TV cameras staring at me. Oh, okay. And I turn and see all the celebrities. So my back was already a bit against the wall there. I thought, what's going on? What's this? Because this isn't like a big combination. This is something else. I knew that much. And then Pete Wicks, Amber Rose Gill, Nick Grimshaw, and Vicky Patterson sat me down on the couch, and they were just so overwhelmed. I bless her, Vicky. She started crying, and it was just so over. And they put it up on the screen. They said Josh Must Win. I was like, no. This isn't real. This isn't a thing. It's literally me going. That was like, the meme where like the buffering circle is, and like the text tone or whatever it is. That was all that's going on in my head. It was buffering. It
White
was
noise.
literally like everything like went quiet and numb. I was looking at the screen for about 30 seconds. I was. Nah, come on, no. What's this really about? So it was just, again, trying to get used to it. I knew I was being filmed by the action, so I was trying to almost save face and not burst into tears myself. So it was just, it was so weird. It's still really weird to me that I've got a show on E4. But when that was like the raw reaction that you saw, so I guess that's my surprised face.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to bring up a few more pictures here. There you are with the hosts. And like I say, they even made merch with your face on it. It doesn't get any better than that, does it? But every wrestler's dream, really. But like I say, you're going to have fans wanting to know if you're going to be selling that at the shows next. We'll find out. We'll find out. But I'm guessing the chemistry between the two of you was off the charts.
Absolutely. I mean, I turned up at the venue. I think I played a show the night before with my band, Intercity. So then I drove through the night to Stansted. I think I slept for about 2 hours on the plane, turned up to the venue, did all the pre-show meetings, the pre-show amblings, and the meet and greets and things like that. So I'd had about 2 hours sleep before going out there and absolutely killing it in the opener with Speedball. But sort of post-match, we spoke, and he was very, very complimentary on my style, on my in-ring sort of craft, the way I move, the way I carry myself. And he asked me, he said, have you got any martial arts training? Have you got a martial arts background? Because some of your strikes are very, very strong, very, very solid, and the technique is second to none. So we got talking about martial arts, and I knew that obviously Speedball had a big martial arts background, but he spoke to me and said that he was a 4th Dan black belt. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then he was like, what's your background with martial arts? And I was like, oh, I'm a 1st Dan black belt in Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee's teachings, Bruce Lee's syllabus. Yeah. It's a little bit mixed martial arts. It takes elements of every syllabus that's out there. There's elements of sort of karate, taekwondo, aikido, eskrima, bagua. There's so much that falls under Jeet Kune Do and Bruce Lee's teachings, Bruce Lee's stylings. And I think as soon as I said that I'd studied and worked under that sort of syllabus, there was a big grin on Speedball's face and almost like a bit of a nod of approval.
And some more pictures, because I want to focus a little bit on the experience, and I brought up this picture earlier. Sky chuckling to herself. But we mentioned that you're one half of the RCW, the Women's Tag Team Champions, and the Resurgence Tag Team Champions alongside Sky as one half of the experience. There you are again. And
yeah, we're doing the Dragon Ball Z.
Awesome vibes going on there, and there she is, sexy,
almost like we're real life friends.
but you know, this has been a pairing between yourself and Sky that's probably been ongoing now for, I'd say, over a year, maybe a year and a half, if not longer. But the two of you just seem to be inseparable, whether it's Progress, whether it's RCW Spain, whether it's Resurgence. And you two have really gone all in now on this tag team unit between the two of you, the experience. What was the kind of the catalyst behind deciding, 2024 is going to be the year of the experience. Let's go for it. You know, let's chuck it, all of our eggs into the basket, and let's go all in on this.
Credit where credit's due, Lana Austin.
Well, yeah,
because you don't bring me and Sky together that often in one room creatively for that length of time if you don't have Lana Austin, and it will disappoint a lot of people. I love the bones of the woman. I adore her. She hits really hard and it sucks. But you know, I think yes, she does get some credit and she gets some plaudits and she gets some recognition, but not nearly enough. Because come on, the majority, 90% of us who are in wrestling now, one of the first women that we saw on a live show was Lana Austin, especially in the Southwest. If you were lucky to see a woman on a show, one of the first women you would have seen was Lana Austin. And that isn't lost on me. And the time and the effort and the fact that she stuck her neck out and said, I think that we should bring this person in after having met me once, is not lost on me. So there's a moment. I'm sorry. She's awesome.
Yeah, it's the truth.
I'll still have to kick her ass one day, but she's awesome. Damn.
Absolutely.